let me think of an intro. It's literally just what you always do. Let me just open the correct tab, though. I'll open the tab for my notes. Okay. Wait, what's the intro again? Hey guys. It's not hey guys. It's.
We don't have an intro. What is the intro? We make it up.
But what's the usual one?
It's like, howdy y'all, podcast time. Are you calm?
Honestly, I think the episode started already.
Yeah, I think it kind of did, didn't it?
So, what's up, guys? We are live. If you are watching this not live, but for the people watching live, you are alive. Good job on that.
This is last time we did an episode live, and you were like, "Man, Toby, I don't know how would you do that? Like, how do you just like come up with a sentence?" And I'm just like, "Don't think before you speak, just speak." I take that advice back. You should think before you speak. you should definitely...
I know. Dude, there's so many like things that happen in my life that have led me to just that's my perspective. That I always have to now think before I talk. I don't know, maybe bad experiences where whenever I didn't think, bad things happened, and now like, oh wait, let me.
This is it takes all kinds. Oh, that's going to be in the. Oh,
that's in the episode now.
It's in the episode because that's the blessing of doing it live. So yeah, for those of you who don't know, who maybe this is kind of a recent development, or maybe this is your first time listening to the podcast, we record these episodes live here on the Calm Mind Podcast YouTube channel. And if you're like, here, I'm listening on Spotify or Google Podcasts, that's cool. We're also over on the YouTube channel, and we're more likely to respond to comments or interact with the questions that you might have in chat if there's a common question we're seeing. And then what happens is, as soon as we're done with the live stream, that is when the episode of the week comes out, so we're recording now is episode 32. Episode 30 will be out as soon as we're done being live here.
Exactly. And yeah, we'll be looking at the chat. If it's relevant to what we're talking about, we'll respond. But if it's not relevant, the only way we'll respond is if you super chat or donate, really, honestly. Yeah. We're not going to say that every podcast because, again, there are people that aren't in the live listening to this, but got to make it gotta talk about donations, This is a live stream. But this episode we'll continue talking about Scarlet and Violet, really, because there's just so much to talk about. This is going to probably last a couple more episodes. Last episode we talked about performance and visuals, so more negative.
I'm glad we got that out the way, because if anyone is in the comment section or listening to this podcast and they're like, oh, yeah, but you're saying all these nice things about the game, like, don't you realize the problems? No, that was last week's episode. We've done that now. Now we want to talk about the stuff we actually like, the stuff like removed from that, which, yeah, it might be a more positive leaning episode or not. I still have other criticisms.
Yeah, it can be both. But, it's still balanced.
But if you're like, oh, where's the criticism for that? Don't worry. You can go back and listen to the last episode. It's fine.
I mean, this is like the neutral episode. Next episode is probably even more positive. Because like next episode, I assume we're going to talk about plot.
Okay.
Like heavy plot.
Yeah, deep plot spoilers. Though that said, we should probably mention that this will be a spoiler. Like, we're not going to be worried too much about spoilers, and while we're not getting into the deep end game plot stuff, like, if you didn't want spoilers for Scarlet and Violet at this point, you should probably not be here. So we don't have any specific plans to talk about deep spoilery stuff, but also we're going to be pretty unrestricted. Yeah.
Next episode, that's when we're 100% talking about deep spoilery stuff. This episode, it'll slip. I'll by mistake say, Penny dies or something, but sorry. Shit.
I didn't get to that part yet. I just got to the part where you get to decide if you want to shoot her or not, but I haven't decided yet.
Honestly, I cried.
It's the darkest part of Pokemon history, though. Like, I can't believe they did that.
I mean, it's the second darkest part. Like, what happens in the climax is pretty dark, honestly.
Oh, yeah.
Even darker than that.
Yeah. Can't believe they just ended Pokemon like that, but is what it is. Anyway, do you have a specific thing to do with Scarlet and Violet that you wanted to talk about? Because I'm very much enjoyed last week just kind of going with the flow, and you seem to have some questions, and I kind of, not to say that I've come unprepared, but I've come a little unprepared, and so I'll follow your lead, man.
Yeah, we're basically just following. I have my entire outline for my review. That I already wrote, and I just have to record after this, which sucks because it's like a long video that I have to record after already recording a podcast.
Yeah.
So hopefully I don't lose my voice. So maybe you should do more of the heavy lifting this episode so I don't lose my voice.
I can talk. I've been known to be able to talk.
So we're literally going in that order. We're going to skip gameplay, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, it's boring to talk about, I like how you can find Gimmighoul. I mean, no, we'll talk about that because it's a Pokemon. I like how riding around is fun.
Yeah.
Like, we won't talk about things that you have to actually literally play to understand. We'll talk about just things that people probably want more of our opinions of, like new Pokemon, the region itself, the characters.
Yeah,
that's probably what this episode's about. So, let's start with new Pokemon.
Okay.
And specifically, like, the new ones. Not like legendaries or forms or paradox forms. Yep. Just like the average Pokemon.
Just your average Pokemon of the region.
I mean, I guess starters first, technically. Yeah, let's start with starters.
Yeah, okay. Well, this was one of those generations where, for me, I felt, looking at the starters, like, oh, this is a decent roster. I had a clear favorite, which was Fuecoco from the beginning, but I could see why other people would like the other ones instead, and I didn't feel like, obviously, you know, everyone's got a generation, maybe you do, I don't know, where you think, oh, well, obviously I'm going to pick this one because the other two are awful, or maybe you love all of them pretty equally. Like, honestly, for the first stages in Sword and Shield, I thought they were like a really strong trio of like Sobble, Gorbunny, and Grookey. So this generation, I was feeling, you know, inclined towards Fuecoco, and then as we got further into the evolutionary stages, they all went off in different directions, some liking more, some not liking. We mentioned Meowscarada, the Florigato, is that the name?
Yeah. The middle stage?
Perfect middle stage.
Yeah, that's my favorite Pokemon in the region.
You're so right. It's your favorite one in the whole region?
Yeah.
Oh, fair enough.
I think that's what a Pokemon should look like. That's like my ideal, what a Pokemon should look like, honestly.
Yeah, I kind of think so there's this whole thing of like, it's a bit of a meme. Oh, don't let it stand on two legs. Don't let it stand on two legs. Yeah. And that's like Florigato proves that you can do that. That's fine.
Yeah. It's less about whether or not it's bipedal. It's whether or not it's humanoid and bipedal. Like, it's humanoid. Yeah. Like, we don't want not we, but in general, people don't want a cat that looks and walks like a human. But Florigato looks like a cat just standing up. You know?
Yeah, I feel that. It's very much its own thing. I guess kind of similar to Zeraora, I suppose. Yeah.
But even Zeraora is more like stretched out, more like mascot limbs, like or furry suit limbs, honestly.
Yeah.
While Florigato is literally just a cat standing up, like in terms of proportions, at least.
Did you think Meowscarada landed that, or do you think it ended up being too humanoid, or because you prefer Florigato, right?
I prefer Florigato, but I think Masquerada isn't, let's say, as bad as like Inteleon or Delphox or stuff like that, because the theme and the concept necessitates it looking like that, I think, in my opinion. So it's not like it's out of place or it's like out of left field, because like if I was to design like, let's say, a phantom thief magician cat, it would look like that. So I'm like, it's not surprising, so I like it. It's not like uncanny. Like the only like quote unquote flaw for the design for me is that the mask looks a little too big on it. I mean, that's again part of the concept, I guess, but it's just like, that's not my favorite mask design, but just in general, I like it a lot, actually. Masquerade, I fell in love with Masquerade, even though in the beginning I didn't like it because I saw Florigato and I'm like, this is going to go good. This is going to be very successful. And then I saw Masquerade. But if I saw, let's say, Masquerade first, I wouldn't have been, sad.
Did you witness these Pokemon for the first time in game?
No, so the starters and all the forms I saw in leaks and all that.
Yeah,
but
same.
The average Pokemon, I saw them first in game, yeah.
And I felt very strongly that Meowscarada was a flop and that I didn't like it. And actually, it was the one that, seeing it in-game, something about it, the way it was moving, something about the way that it, that it's got its kind of little weapon flower thing, really sold it for me in-game, where I completely kind of flipped on that. And I was like, you know what, actually, this is one of those examples where seeing the leak first doesn't help. I'd say 90% of the time seeing the leak first doesn't help. You're always going to have a more positive opinion if you see it in game, or for example, all the official art that you can see in the books, like in the game books. What are those called? The guides. The guidebooks, yeah. All the official art in the guidebooks, they all look the best. Those are the best versions of the Pokemon. It's true. Like, for example, the starters. I think that's how you see them first. You should see them in the official art versions. Florigato looks... Florigato too, but Masquerade looks amazing in the official art. All of them look really good in the official art. So that's what I think these starters are actually successful after seeing the official art. So do we disagree about Scarledge? I think Skeledurge?
Or Salamence.
I'm asking. It's got a question. It's a Skeledirge with a question mark. I'm not sure.
Are we talking about the crocodile or the knight?
Wait,
Salamence, kind of.
Oh, right. I see what you're saying. No, we're talking about the crocodile. We're talking about the crocodile.
Okay, Skeledirge. Yeah, we disagree. I think Skeledirge, I think, is a quality starter.
Okay. Yeah. I'm really gutted about it, right? Because I'm Birdkeepertoby. Fuecoco is my favorite starter this generation. It evolves into a Birdkeeper. It is a Pokemon literally with a bird sat on it. It would be meant to be. And actually, one of the big struggles that PokeTubers have with finding mascots, right, is finding a Pokemon that's like so perfectly simple in design. And I was looking at that bird like, if I actually liked this Pokemon, I could make a branding around a little firebird that's literally just a simple shape. It's just a circle.
Yeah. I
was like, oh, it'd be perfect for a mascot. I just don't like this Pokemon at all. And like,
why?
I'm trying.
What's the reason?
I think it's three, like, the three. I think there's too many different things going on. So I think like its head to me does not look like a. I know it's supposed to kind of evoke the imagery of a skull, I guess, but also a skull that's kind of it's Day of the Dead, right?
It's a crocodile skull.
This thing.
Yeah, I guess.
I don't see that. I just see a weird sort of strip, or like a landing strip on its face with a number of different colors that I don't really feel integrate very well with the rest of it. And then
color-wise or like
color-wise, I just think that I don't know. And then the way that the tail is, this is going to sound super weird. Maybe no one else seeing this. I feel like this Pokemon is. It reminds me of those toys that like you have to put together, and like I feel like the head, the body, and the tail are three completely separate sections that don't quite know. Like they were drawn out, and no one thought about how they click together, and they don't. It just looks a bit discombobulated to me, and it is naturally going to be compared to like Feraligatr or Crocodile, and those are Pokemon that I really like anyway. And I loved when I was like, oh, Crocodile 4 legs, oh, that's really awesome, but I just don't vibe with the design, and it's just such a shame. I don't know why. I don't mind. Do I mind it? The lava plumes, flame wings.
That's honestly
I'm not
the only
sure.
thing I mind. Like I like the flames. I just don't like that they're like square flames. like they're not flame looking flames. That's the only thing I relatively dislike. The rest I like a lot. I mean, I guess like the shape of his like torso, it's like very squarey. It's like a box a little bit. That is weird, but it's like that's not a problem. It's just that I don't understand that choice really. But in terms of like, for example, the colors, I think they work really well. They're very like those are like very, Day of the Dead kind of sugar skull kind of colors, and I mean, I assume you like the concept of the Firebird, right? Because like it makes a lot of sense in terms of both.
So it's got in Fuecoco's form, it's so hot that a little bit of the fire is poking out of its head. By the time it evolves, that has become a full-fledged sort of fire egg, and then the egg hatches. But it's also a sombrero. It's really cool. I really like the middle stage. Cool. I do like the middle stage, and then it evolves, and there's a whole new soul that has become attached to it. A bird. I'm not really sure why a bird. I guess birds are known to clean the teeth of crocodiles sometimes.
Yeah, they're very heavily associated, like plovers and stuff like that. But also, I think the Spanish inspiration for it, also like the lore, I don't remember, honestly. I have to read on it, but I think it involves a ghost bird.
Right.
Or something like that. It's a new Pokemon. I am not 100% knowledgeable about the lore and all that. But someone in the comment, let me find it, sorry. Oh yeah, Let's Get Fluffy said that's because it's supposed to look like an instrument. That's why the body shape is a little mechanical looking.
Yeah, that's the other element. Like, so it's a ghost, obviously, and I see there's the Day of the Dead inspiration, but when I look at it, I don't recognize it as a ghost Pokemon. And even the bird,
it's like the Decidueye. It has ghost-like energy and powers.
I suppose, yeah. And then the other element is that it's a singer, and that I just don't see at all. Like it's like a singer, right? That's the
it's singer.
I don't.
But
see
apparently the bird sings. Really, apparently.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
The
I
fire
think
becomes
I just
a mic
got a little
and a bird.
lost. Like, I don't know that when it comes to Quaxly's final evolution that I prefer or dislike it anymore or anything. But at least with that one, I kind of get it. I think more. Whereas this one just feels a little bit all over the place to me. But that's just me. Yeah, what's Quaxly's final evolution called?
Quaquaval.
Sorry?
Quaquaval.
Quaquaval. Quaquaval. Quaquaval.
It could be Quaquaval, like carnival, but like I assume it's like carnival, like
Okay.
Quaquaval. How do you say duck in Spanish? Aquaquac. Which language says aquaquac?
I don't know. This is news to me.
Or is that just just a Pokemon? Is a Pokemon? I think like Psyduck is aquaquac. I don't know anything about the aquaquac. What am I saying?
Quack quack. Yeah, what do you think about that one? What's your vibes on that?
I think that one has design-wise, I have the least quote unquote problems.
Yeah.
In terms of like it's exactly what it should look like in my opinion. It's just in battle it moves a little too much. Like it's a little like
it's very all over the place.
I like it.
It's dancing, right?
I love it. And I like it's literally the gayest Pokemon in the world and it's very cool. But like it moves like I was recording a lot of footage for this game and like collecting footage and it's like let's say I want to show off the Pokemon that it's battling, but then you have a Quaquaval dancing and it's just distracting. I want to show the it's too much on screen. It's like that's a good reason to not pick it for me at least. It's just too much on screen.
I feel like it's designed. It has a lot going on. It's very
yeah, it's the point. That's the point. It's very flamboyant.
Big and flamboyant. That's the word I'm looking for. And it's got this when it uses its attack, it's got this. Am I right in thinking there are like teardrops that appear all around its tail? Like its tail gets bigger.
The tail.
Yeah,
it's like almost like a peacock tail or just any mating bird.
I mean, I like it. I like
it's exactly what it should look like in my opinion. I think for the concept, for also like a starter, like we've already had a very leggy bird. We have Blaziken. Like it's not like unprecedented, so it's not as weird or not off-putting, but like uncanny or like what's the word for like surprising in a negative way?
Surprising in a negative way. I'm lost. It's
not that compared to let's say Masquerada because like. Although we already have like a cat. No, people already understood that it was going to become... I don't understand. Everybody knew it was going to become a standing cat. Like, everybody knew that, right? Like, so that's why it wasn't surprising to me.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think any of these are surprising, honestly. They're all like... It's compared to, let's say, the Gen 8 starters where like, that was surprising, like the... At least everything but Rillaboom. Rillaboom was exactly what I thought it was going to look like. Everything else...
Did you not think that people were expecting Quaxley to evolve into something that's more like a sailor or a soldier or something?
I mean, a sailor is pretty... similar in terms of the flamboyancy.
I guess. And I guess there probably is some inspiration there on that. I'm looking at an image of it now. I don't think it's very cool. I think that's where I like my starter Pokemon to be cool. I'm a little bit of a
that's why I like
I'm a little
Masquerada.
Yeah, I'm a little basic on that. I'm like, yeah, Charizard's cool, Feraligator's cool. Like I like my cool, very generic cool.
And honestly, other than the forms legendaries, there are less cool Pokemon in this generation.
Well, I'm gonna have a look.
A lot of the average Pokemon is like goofy in a good way, or like cool isn't the personality I would like. Ceruledge and the legendaries; those are like the cool Pokemon in this generation. But like the average Pokemon is like what Arbolive, like even the flying electric type. Kilowattrel. That's a cool Pokemon, right? But like I like it a lot, but it's not as cool as I say Talonflame or Staraptor or Corviknight, right?
Yeah.
So it's like
definitely.
That's where usually there's at least a cool Pokemon there, you know? Even like the most popular Pokemon in this generation, Tinkaton, is not like cool. It's cute and funny and like badass, but it's not cool. You know what I mean? Sleek and like Sceptile, Luxray.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, obviously there are some this generation. Like I think Ceruledge, the Knight.
Other than like that's the definition.
Not the crocodile. But King Gambit, I think, Annihilate. They're all, Roaring Moon, the Gallade Gardevoir, the Iron Valiant. I think they're all pretty.
Yes, forms and legendaries.
Cool. Well, that's true. Yeah, that's true.
And there are a lot of them.
Yeah, that's right. And we're trying to talk about Pokemon, I guess, that are specifically like just for this generation. Normal. And like I guess Baxcalibur is trying to be.
But that's a pseudo legendary. It doesn't. Again, that's like the more only the powerful, the really really powerful Pokemon are like really cool looking. Maybe the Scarab Pokemon. What's the?
I don't know the name of it. I honestly didn't even touch that Pokemon in the whole.
I really like it.
Yeah.
The evolution of Rellor, it's cool looking, but it's not like again sleek and like animalistic. Like again, Luxray.
I see what you mean. I do see what you mean. Again, like my brain goes Cyclizar, but it's like, yeah, but that was designed probably legendary first, and then Cyclizar was designed after, I would assume. Yeah.
Like King Gambit, again, that's a form, so it doesn't count, but that's an example of a really cool, badass looking Pokemon. I'm trying to find that in just a normal Pokemon of this region.
There is
and
one,
there just aren't.
But I don't know how you'll feel about it. How do you feel about Spidops?
Spidops could have been... Oh, other than Lokix, obviously. Lokix is my favorite.
Is cool. Yeah.
Just normal Pokemon in this generation. Lokix is literally the only one. Spidops is not one of my favorites. I really like the pre-evolution, actually. Tarantula, I really like a lot. Spidops is like a slightly below average. It's not bad. I like it. It's just that it's not the execution is not exactly what I would have wanted. In terms of... It still looks goofy, right? It's still... like it's cool and goofy at the same time. There's no Pokemon that's just cool. You know?
Fair enough. I got very classic. The first time I saw a Spidops, I got very classic, and actually I get it a little bit with Lokix as well, like Gen 1, like Scyther, Pinsir vibes from them.
Maybe.
Which I very much... I like it. I think I'll probably use Spidops and Lokix on a future adventure if I am to find my way back to the Paldea region anytime. But yeah, typically the Pokemon on my team were very cute, I think. Or the Pokemon I liked were very cute. Not cool.
I mean, I had like a Cerulege on my team and like, the starter. I had some cool Pokemon. I had Baxcalibur. I had and Lokix. I had cool Pokemon because those are the Pokemon that I like the most. But I'm actually looking at my Gen 8 tier list right now.
Same. Oh, and yes. Gen 9. Sorry, I'm looking at mine.
No, I'm looking at Gen 8 too.
All right.
And the problem, not the problem, but here's the contrasting with Generation 8. Generation 8, I had a lot of automatic S tier Pokemon. There were a lot of like relatively cool Pokemon. Like as much as there were goofy Pokemon, there were a lot of cool Pokemon in that generation. Yeah. There were like what's it called? The octopus. I forgot the name of the octopus.
Oh, Graplox.
Graplox. We had Graplox. We had. It's hard. Why am I? It's hard remembering Pokemon because I'm also thinking of Gen 9.
It's only been one generation. What Gen 8 Pokemon? What are you talking about? Which one?
Pseudo-legendary. How do I forget the name of this?
Dragapult?
Dragapult, Centiskorch, Orbeetle, Corviknight, Grimmsnarl.
Oh, you remember all the names now.
Frostmoth, Dreadnought. We have a lot of really cool Obstagoon, Barraskewda, the legendaries, but those don't count. I mean, even like just like Toxtricity, like we had so many just cool Pokemon in that generation. But then I'm watching a lot of Let's Plays here of Generation 9, right? Mm-hmm. And everybody's like, wow, this is some of the coolest Pokemon we've had since in a long time. I don't understand what they're talking about.
No, I feel that.
There are so many cool Pokemon Generation 8 and 7. These are people probably that just didn't enjoy Generation 7 and 8 as a game, and they just associate the Pokemon with that. And they're like, I just forgot the Pokemon because I forgot the game. But no, there are so many really cool Pokemon in the previous generation. So that's why this generation isn't my favorite. I still love it, just like any generation. And there are a lot of cool, like a lot of the Pokemon that I like are just not the cool kind. They're like just cool, good Pokemon, you know? But not like typical for what the kind of Pokemon that I usually like the sleek ones and stuff like that. But yeah, exactly. Like it's the classic Gen 8 bad. Or same, also Gen 7. Like Gen 7 has probably some of the most like cohesive generation in my opinion. In terms of like they're all themed. They all feel like there should be in that region. They're all tropical, just like Hoenn. They have nice colors and like I think Gen 7 and Gen 8 and even Gen 6, they're all very quality generations in terms of quality, over quantity. Let's say.
What in terms of the Pokemon in the decks?
Yeah,
Gen 6 I can't agree. Kalos is like...
you can't agree.
Yeah, I can't agree. No, Kalos is like my least favorite. In terms of a Pokedex, there is like 2 Pokemon in that generation that I actually like, actively like, and then most of the others I just don't like.
Interesting, because that's like probably very like... I think not agreed upon because that doesn't matter, but like in terms of like... Yeah. They're all like... It's like the least offensive generation in terms of Pokemon, honestly.
I don't know. There's like not there a lot that I like. Hang on, I'm gonna open the dex. Obviously, it's a very small Pokedex, but like the Gumi line, I think is fantastic. The Phantom line, I think is fantastic. Noivern, Gourgeist.
Do you like Greninja?
Like I got a controversial-ish opinion about Greninja, which is Greninja's fine. It's cool. I think people think it's way better than it is, mostly by contrast to the other starters. I actually think that if you put that up against other starters, I don't think people would have loved Greninja as much as they do. I think it's been given a kind of it's been given an elevated status. Yeah, genuinely for me, like I actually don't think Aegislash is as cool as people think it is. I think Tyrant's great.
Talonflame, you don't like Talonflame?
I'm not fussed about Talonflame, no.
Whoa!
Yeah.
It's so cool. Go-Goat? I like Go-Goat a lot.
Again, it's not bad. It's fine for me. So to me,
that's weird, because not to say that this is your opinion is weird, but more it's like these are really just like normal like Pokemon that people just like in terms of like this is what like Pokemon are. Like they look like like normal Pokemon in terms of like a good Pokemon design. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like there's nothing. Like they're very. None of these are like weird designs. Let's say Gen 8 or 9, where they're like concepts are like all over the place, but like in a good way. While like Pangoro, for example, it's like
I don't really like Pangoro, but
wow,
yeah, I know you like it a lot. I actually,
but it's just it's a cool panda. Like it's like what's like I don't understand like the negative feeling in terms of what kind of Pokemon do you generally like?
What, from that generation or just in general?
No, in general. Like, what are the kind of Pokemon that you like? And like a lot of the Pokemon we just said, like Talonflame, Pangoro, even Greninja, those are like cool, sleek Pokemon that are powerful.
Pangoro's got an awkward design, I think. It's got this like really small head on a really big body, and the fur cape thing is just kind of odd. And I've never liked it. The color scheme. I don't know. I don't.
Color scheme. That's my favorite part.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know, maybe, but I think also I might have a weird relationship with Generation 6 in general, where
so that's why,
which could affect my opinion. But like, I'm looking at the Pokédex now, and it's so like muted is the only way I can describe this generation. Like
color wise,
I don't even know if it's a color thing. I think it might be a feel thing. Don't get me wrong. The moment I hit Mega Revolution, I'm like, oh, slaps. Hawlucha again. It's like it's the upper end of those, but like it's
nothing
like, fine.
Awesome for you.
No, the only Pokemon Trevenant I think is great. Trevenant and Phantump and the Gumi line I think are genuinely fantastic, and Noivern I like a lot as well. Xerneas is top tier. In his box art design, Yveltal's fine. It's fine. It's not.
What's going on here?
I just don't like Generation 6 that much. In terms of the Pokédex, Xerneas is like top tier, but the moment you take it off the box art and you throw it out into Battle of the Game and it's like inactive, I'm like, what am I looking at? This is not. It's just got downgraded like a bunch. Yeah, it's like just my least favorite generation. Don't get me wrong, next generation, Sun and Moon slaps. Alola has like, wow, fantastic, like so vibrant. But yeah, I don't think it's when I say muted, I don't think I'm even talking about the color scheme. I think I'm talking about just how I feel about the region. It just feels so, it's fine.
Were you consuming Pokemon during that generation?
Yeah, heavily. That's when I started Poketubing. Really, was right after.
Same.
It was like the one. Yeah, they got me back in, but
so
really it was all
what was your negative?
Mega Evolution was like super cool. Mega Evolution really reeled me back in. I thought Mega Evolution was great. I didn't like it at first. I was like, how can you have a fourth evolution? Wait, and it's only in battle, so it's basically a form? Ugh. And I really didn't like it. But then actually, over time, like speculating about what new Megas could look like was one of the key things that got me into back into Pokemon and Poketubing at that time.
In terms of the Pokemon, do you like the Gen 9 Pokemon more than Gen 6?
Yes. Yes.
So that is very surprising.
Yeah, I think I like the Gen 9 Pokemon more than Gen 6. Because even the ones that I've got, like, don't get me wrong, there are some that I dislike, but, like, there's more that I'm, like, I think are really wonderful.
Give me examples, because I understand.
Okay, so I like, my S tier stuff is all the obvious stuff, but like my ABE tiers are kind of filled up with like Clorf and Cyclizar, Lechonk, the new Tentacruel evolution. I think the baby chickpea Pokemon is pretty cool.
Chickpea Pokemon, what?
The chickpea, the one that evolves into Scavillain, or
that's just a little pepper, I assume.
It's like a little bird. It's like a little grass bird. Have you seen it?
Yes.
Yeah, it's cool.
It attacks you. I can't not see it.
Yeah, it's true. It's everywhere. The spider.
What's it called?
Smoliv's evolution, low kicks, Dondozo, Houndstone, Sea Titan, Garnackle.
Capsakid. That's what.
Capsakid. Yeah. The Garnackle, the Salt Rock line, I think is brilliant. Yeah.
Okay, so these are all Pokemon that like don't match what is the kind of Pokemon that you like? I'm trying to
I don't think there is a kind of Pokemon that I like.
So I'm not understanding the comparison.
I might not be able to understand it myself. There are just some Pokemon I don't like, and it's a feelings thing. It's I don't know that I can look at the specific design, and I mean, don't get me wrong, there are some designs that I can look in and go, I really don't like that because of this. But this is the issue with Kalos for me specifically with those Pokemon. It's not like there's anything that there's very few Pokemon that I actively hate that I'm like, oh, get it away. It's just like, it's not really doing anything for me. Yeah. It's just not doing a lot. Yeah. It's kind of, that's what I say, muted. It's very, yeah. But that's...
For example, none of these, the muted, while I understand it, that's not a thing that I don't have, there's no, like, entire generation that is muted for me. So it's like, I don't understand. But, like, I understand, like, just having a dull opinion on Pokemon. Mm-hmm. That makes sense. But, like, so, like, I can't say, like, the generations that I like less are the ones that are muted. It's just more that there are less designs that are for my taste. And then I can tell you my taste, basically. But, like, for example, like, this generation, yeah, a lot less just, like, cool animals.
What we can do is we can always circle back in the future once I think I worked out what my taste is. But I guess generally speaking, like, it's a small Pokedex, and it's just one where the large percentage, there's only a small percentage that I actually really, really enjoy. And so the rest of the whole kind of just gets, like, forgotten about for me. And it's actually not that many Pokemon. It's, you know, it's just a smaller pool, I guess.
By the way, I didn't bring up Malamar, not because it's not one of my favorite, because it is one of my favorite Pokemon ever, but more because you don't ask a person if they like Malamar when they're saying that they don't like Generation 6. It's like, there's a chance they don't like Malamar if they don't like Generation 6 Pokemon. So I'm not going to bring it up, but I mean, I assume you do not.
I like Inkay a lot, actually.
Yeah.
But Malamar is, again, it's fine. Yeah, it's fine. It's fine for me.
But all these Pokemon that I brought up, like, again, this is just me talking. It's not even towards Toby. This is just me in general. Like, if I just bring up all that Gen 6 lineup, a lot of also the cool Gen 7 and Gen 8 Pokemon, it's like, wow, these are cool, really cool monsters that I can befriend. In this generation, there are barely any of those, and a lot of the ones that I can befriend are just like, they're fun looking.
Yeah, they're cute,
which is
fun,
entertaining. They're entertaining, but they're not, wow, I am training a cool monster that is also friendly looking. It's more like I'm befriending a friendly looking thing, you know?
Yeah, I get that. I guess this region, though, it maybe wanted to save because like obviously, so towards the end of the game, you enter Area 0, and there is the Paradox Pokemon, right? Yeah. I wonder if, in order to sell the Paradox Pokemon as being more savage, they focused on cute, funny designs for the majority of the region, so that the contrast between these more monstrous looking Pokemon and these less monstrous looking Pokemon will be more obvious. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that's probably
I think that's semi to do, maybe also even compared to Legends Arceus, where all the Pokemon are very, like, you know, angry, very feral and cool looking, I guess, maybe. But in this generation, they're way more friendly in the overworld and in design-wise. Like, and again, don't get me wrong, I still also like adorable and goofy designs. It's just that's not endgame for me. Like, I like training up the Pokemon and be like, wow, look at this character development of my team. They went from cute little kids to these badass monsters, while it's like a lot of them will stay really cute. Like, I mean, even like some of my favorite Pokemon in this generation, like Clodsire, it's gonna stay. It's not badass. It's very, very awesome. I love it. It's cute, but it's like it stayed cute throughout the entire thing, which is awesome. But it's also like not what I traditionally, not this invigorating feeling that I get while playing Pokemon. Which is, wow, this became this
evolved into something really, really good. Yeah, I get that. I definitely feel that.
And then, like, there are Pokemon that, like, are relatively unpopular, or Pokemon that people don't talk about, like Espatra, that I really like. I think that was a good design in terms of ostrich, Egyptian ostrich, I guess.
That was quite beautiful. A quirky one, because, like, the evolution from Flittle was not something I expected.
It's very funny. I did not expect it either.
It's super bizarre. Is there
Darkspun, I think, is, like, again, it's literally just cute, but I love it, and I think it's my favorite food Pokemon, and I usually don't like food Pokemon.
I actually don't like it. It's quite low on my D tier, I'll be honest.
Yeah. D tier, wow.
Yeah. I thought, I don't know, I feel like they missed the mark a little bit with that. I was actually thinking of asking you if there were any evolutions that you felt missed the mark. And
did we talk about this already? in the last episode?
Did we?
Like our D tiers, or was I talking to someone completely else about this?
I
I talked a lot. Like maybe I had a lot of Discord calls.
I mean, we spoke about Paw Me and Paw Mop,
tiers.
so we won't get back into that. Because
so like Palmod is in there, but like
but I don't know.
Yeah, we talked.
But I don't necessarily know that I could justify my position on it either. Just like, I don't know. It hasn't grown on me yet. Yeah.
Like Belly Bolt, I don't like that much. Belly Bolt again. I think we've talked about this in our podcast too, like a long time ago.
Do you? Are we? So I'm aware that we're already kind of 40 minutes into the podcast, and there's more that we wanted to talk about than just the Pokemon designs, right?
Yeah.
Do we want to generate a Pokemon this episode, or do we not?
Let's see how we can tie in the generating Pokemon into Sword and Shield. I keep saying Sword and Shield. Scarlet and Violet.
Well, I've got in front of me my tier list. You could just say a number between like 1 and what is it in this generation, like 100, and I could just go. I could just go from the bottom up. So if you want to get a really bad Pokemon, you say a low number. If you want to really highly rated Pokemon, you say a high number, or you go somewhere in the middle.
I mean, I'll ask Siri to generate it because if it was up to me, I'd do a low number so that way you don't have to now count to 50 or something, you know. But hey Siri, generate a Pokemon between 1 and 100.
Okay, I found this on the web.
That's not how it works.
Yeah, you got to say number, not Pokemon.
Wait, I said Pokemon?
You did. You said generate a Pokemon.
Why did you tell me that?
Because I didn't want it to. I wanted to see if it worked.
Generate a Pokemon between. I keep on saying Pokemon.
No. You want a number?
I know I want a number. I keep on saying Pokemon though.
Okay. We're gonna...
Generate a number between 1 and 100. 32.
All right.
While Toby counts, I'll talk about my opinion on. I'll talk about random Pokemon that I also. Let me find a random Pokemon, like right in the middle, like a Pokemon that's right in the middle for me. In
this one, I got it. I got 32.
Okay, never mind. I guess you'll never know. Continue.
It's a really boring one for a thumbnail.
Too bad.
It's Kilowattrel's pre-evolution. I don't even know what that's called.
Wattrel.
Is it just Wattrel?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good name. I like that for a Pokemon. Yeah,
I think it's cute.
So this is like
well, that's a good example. That's a good one to start off talking about actually, because it ties into just the generation in general.
This is like officially the kind of regional bird, right?
I guess. I don't know anymore in terms of.
I guess I don't even know if there is a...
I guess.
There might not even be an officially... this is a Pokemon... I did battle this once. In a raid den. And you know how the raid dens have the refractions of the Pokemon around, but it's like hung on a specific camera angle, and these Pokemon have ridiculously big eyes. And so it was like a really tiny Wattrel surrounded by 3 giant bobbing eyeballs, and it was the most terrifying thing. It was unnecessarily unholy.
Yeah, it happens.
I
actually haven't done a lot of raids, now that I think of it.
You're not?
Not, yeah, I'm in the post game, I'll start doing them a lot. But basically, so Wattrel, to me, I actually like it. So people are like, it's like just a boring bird, but it's like literally just like it's as close to design as, like, say, Talo, which is like my first regional bird. It's like, that's what a regional bird should look like. I actually like it more than Rookidee a little bit. Yeah. In terms of just like, that's what I think of when I think of like a regional bird. It looks like Wattrel, and it's yellow, which is...
Yeah,
like
Wattrel
cool.
and Kilowattrel very much remind me of Talo and Swallow.
Exactly, that's literally the closest Pokemon to those Pokemon.
I could actually imagine Wattrel existing in the Hoenn region. Like, it would obviously dominate like local Wingles, but you could imagine that being like an apex predator of the Hoenn region. I could see that. It would make sense to me.
And like a little known fact, I don't know if people really see it in the game that much because I haven't. Like Kilowattrel, whenever like let's say he uses Thunderbolt, like its chest puffs up and lights up.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Well, both of those Pokemon, their electric patterns light up when they.
That's cool.
But also just like it's based on a petrol, but also a specific petrol also that has. I don't know if it's a specific petrol, but it's a bird, similar bird that also it has like a puffed up chest. But there are a lot of Pokemon, birds that have that. But like it has like a gland.
Yeah.
And it looks cool. That's a unique that's a concept. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I want Pokemon with concepts. I like Pokemon with concepts. I don't want it just to be a bird.
I think I've underrated because I've put Wattrel in D.
Frigate Bird. That's the word. That's the one.
I've put it in D tier, and I'm just gonna say now I think I'm wrong about that. Like I think Wattrel and Killer Wattrel are actually really strong designs. I think they're only there because of
what made you want it in D tier before?
Literally because I haven't used them or touched them or even barely seen them for the majority of the game. I think that's literally it. You know. Yeah.
Well, maybe that's a lot of Pokemon in Gen 6. Or not.
Maybe. I don't know. I played Gen 6 3 or 4 times now, I think. Definitely a lot less. Do you know what's happened to me? And this is a little bit of a side tangent, I suppose. I've started playing Pokemon Yellow literally out of a craving to like not... I don't want it to sound like, I found Scarlet and Violet so bad that I had to like go back to Pokemon Yellow. But there is kind of a bit of that where I'm just like really wanting to reconnect with like classic Pokemon. And I'm playing Yellow, and what I've never done in Yellow before is like play through catching 100% of everything while I go. So I'm just kind of doing that at the moment and actually having a really good time. I'm talking to like every NPC, and every NPC has something really interesting to say. And I'm like looking for theory material, and I have the longest list of questions that I've never thought about in terms of Pokemon Yellow. For example, why was Pikachu on Route 1? Did Oak just threw a Pokeball and got a catch? Like, what's
just on? Oh, in Yellow.
In Yellow.
Did
he just use a Master Ball? And then all the classic questions: where does your mum sleep? What happened to your dad? What happened to Blue's parents? Why did Oak want you to have Eevee? Where did Oak get the Eevee? The league headquarters has sent Oak an email inviting people to participate in the Pokemon League. Why do they email Oak? What's with the 2 aides in Oak's lab that have the exact same line of dialogue? Are they robots? What was in Oak's parcel? Did Oak really invent the Pokedex now that we know because of Legends Arceus? How is there a guy in Viridian City that knows about Oak's Pokedex? You've only just got the first draft of the first one. Why are there Rhydon statues in the Pokemon? I got like 30 more of these, and I'm just like playing through, just like writing down everything. Like, yeah, I'm gonna go back to doing some really like old school classic theory stuff.
It does sound nostalgic and fun.
Yeah, I'm really having a good time. Sorry, that was a complete side tangent from Gen 9.
But I assume he made the first electronic Pokedex, perhaps?
Well, I think that's the thinking, is he did the first, digital.
Well, when you were listing all those things, it was more like, I was thinking like, don't we already have answers to like most of these, or at least there are theories that exist for most of these questions?
For some of them, but I'm gonna revisit like all of them privately and then work out if there's stories to be told that are really interesting, that could be added in. Yeah, I think it's the mosaics in the Psychic Gym Town in Gen 9 that like.
Oh yeah.
I was like, I'm gonna go back and see those sprites. We're gonna head on back to Gen 1.
I think the difference for me is that you can find the same kind of enjoyment that you just found in every Pokemon game.
Yeah,
like that was you just going around talking, finding some, theories.
I don't think you can find it as well in Gen 9.
You 100% can though. Like what you did was relatively artificial.
The NPCs in Gen 9 have like nothing to say about anything.
But there are like 1,000 more NPCs.
Yeah, but they have nothing to say. None of them have
anything.
They
have things to say, dude. Did you go one by one and ask them?
I did for the first couple towns, and then I was just like, I'm not doing this anymore. The things that they have to say expresses to, I like bread. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm over exaggerating, but I feel that the NPCs that exist in this world may as well just not, because they don't contribute anything other than being things rendering in the background. I genuinely feel that. Did you not have that? Like, who's got anything to say about, like,
only in terms of, like, the towns you can't go into the houses. That's why. Not because like, again, like, I felt always that Pokemon NPCs are saying things I don't care about in every generation.
I disagree. I found that while playing like Gen 1, for example, so like what I've just found is like, what was it? There was an NPC who said something to the effect of, basically alludes to Team Rocket going to be in Mount Moon before you get there. Something like there's a shady, and then someone else in Viridian City is like, I bought a Pokemon for 500 Pokédollars, but then actually it turned out to be this rubbish Pokemon, but maybe you could get one too. And it's like little hints to obviously what's about to come up.
Yeah, the world building is good.
And you learn about the characters and relationships even from the first couple towns, and like I don't feel like that is the same in Scarlet and Violet. I feel like the characters in Scarlet and Violet have the things they have to say are things like the sky is blue and isn't it a nice day?
Okay,
and what should I have for lunch? That is an
exaggeration, but continue.
Do you think that's an exaggeration? I really don't
nobody's
think
like, I think the sky is blue. Like that's not how it works. But also, for example, there are a lot of different ways in terms of like world building. This does have way more subtle world building, and there are definitely regions that I prefer the world building way more. But like, for example, Alola has way more NPCs. Like every NPC in every house, let's say, is interesting in my opinion, for example. But there are 99% of fans don't care about that. They're not like, as in like, they're not, they don't think Alola is great. They're not. So it's like, I think it's all not subjective, but it's like you put in this artificial interest.
But that's true. But that is
into the region itself.
That's true. But that is something that specifically I enjoy about Pokemon games, right? Because I do Pokemon theories. That's something I've always enjoyed about Pokemon games.
For example, the schools in this game, they're talking about lore. They're talking about world building and stuff like that.
The school, right? The school has plenty of information.
Yeah, the school.
But like to me, that's the only building and area in the game that really has like that. That's where they've put 99% of their effort. And like, I don't think like none of the other buildings in Mesagoza City, none of the buildings in any of the other cities.
There's no buildings.
There are no buildings. None of the people though, also outside of that building. It's all in Mesagoza City, like, and it's all in the one building. Do you not think there's you go to the first shop?
There are literally too many to say. Honestly, I think there are just literally this is the most NPCs and trainers than any other region. Probably like 4 times more than the previous.
Yeah,
and. So I can't. It's like there's just probably quantity over quality.
Okay, but then
there's probably the same amount of lore, same amount of quality.
No, I disagree because it's all concentrated on the school. It's the sort of 30 people who are in the school. That's where everything is, and then it's nowhere else. There's like that's what I'm saying. Is like I don't feel like there are bits of world building, but usually it's environmental in this game, which I like. I like that a lot. But the NPCs in the other town, they may as well just not exist. Like. They might as well, but honestly, they're just taking up processing space. Do you not feel that? I feel that. That's how I felt. Anyway.
Not to the extreme. It's a negative. It definitely is a negative, but not to the extreme that you are feeling it. Because that's why I don't understand. Because I think the NPCs in Pokemon games have always been like that. I really do.
I disagree. I think
there's been world building, and there are better games with better NPC world building. But for example, again, like you said, there are other aspects in this game that do a better job at world building than other games. Like. Let's say, for you randomly come into a tunnel and you see 2 Pokemon in that tunnel, and you're like, "Wow, okay, these Pokemon have a relationship." In terms of, I don't know, or for example, I see like a pack of Pokemon, and then there's another Pokemon with it, like a different species with it.
I love that stuff
like that.
That stuff's really cool.
Like I remember seeing a Gardevoir, a pack of Gardevoir and its children, but then there was another Pokemon with it. And I'm like, "Oh, okay, Gardevoir is taking care of that Pokemon." Stuff like that, which is cool. But like, for example, I think another reason why this generation has less world building in the NPC, specifically the ones in the towns, is because the towns themselves aren't, they're more realistic. They're not like town in the middle of a crater, town in trees, town in mushroom forests,
Sure, yeah.
They're just towns they're normal towns, really. So the people talking about, they're not going to be like, wow, this town is built by Pokemon, or this town is, there's Corsola under this town, like in Pacific. They're not going to talk about that. They'll just talk about normal human things, basically.
Yeah.
So that's more of the region's fault.
Yeah, I mean, I'll agree. I'll agree with that.
But then on the opposite end, for example, I think these are the best layouts and in all of Pokemon in terms of the towns. Like you complained about like the jagged edges and like the aliasing on the building and stuff like that. I agree, that's the thing, but that doesn't take away from the fact that I think in terms of like exterior design, these are the best towns. Like we are missing interior design, but at least they put exterior design, which isn't an excuse because there are towns, let's say in Lola, that have both. But let's say I think the exterior design in this game is like the best in all Pokemon.
I land on that it's like fine. I don't know that I felt that strongly positive about it, but maybe I was sort of swept away by the things that I was feeling negative about, so I didn't end up there, I guess, maybe.
That's the thing. I think like this is hard in a podcast because we're not actually playing the game, for example, and pointing at things. One day, maybe we'll do a video like this. Maybe a collab where we're actually, for hours, you're playing or let's say I'll play the game through OBS. You see what I'm looking at. We're pointing at things specifically because I think like it's based right now. We're talking about based on memory and based on feeling.
Yeah.
And what we felt when so it's like, you felt like the towns sucked, and I felt like the towns were awesome in terms of at least layout, for example. And there's no objective talk, but you can objectively compare. So we should, one time or another.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll do that. Like Levincia, for example, literally, it looks really cool, Levincia, the Iona's town, for example. Iona's town looks really cool. Like if you could go inside the buildings, talk, and you liked the NPCs, I think you would have liked that town a lot, even with the aliasing.
Yeah, I could agree to that, but I also think that like I like it a lot. I like it enough. I'm not like to me the idea of a town in the middle of a crater or floating on Pokemon sounds really interesting. Like, and
I prefer that. I wish we got that.
Levincia is fine. Like it's cool, but I'm not like blown away by it or anything. I guess
because it was open world, they really made it way more realistic. Which is just a good and bad. There's a balance. What was I gonna say? I mean, I'm gonna look at some opinions in the chat.
Yeah, why not? Let's. This is the bonus that you get for being live, is that we get to for being here, is that we get to look at what you have to say and see if you agree. Because otherwise we'll just.
I think people are agreeing with you in terms of like the NPCs, but obviously, like I think we're both right and we're both wrong.
I think I'm mostly
in some
right.
aspects. I assume you would think that, yes, and I think the chat maybe is actually agreeing with you.
No, I'm messing. I'm messing.
I think this is just a way more subtler, like which I actually like. For example. Again, it's a balance. It really is. Like it's not that I hate or like this, but for example, in Generation 8 and 7, they really like nailed in the fact that those were Hawaii and England, and it's like at times it's like it's cool and not cool at the same time, at some points, right? This is a way more subtler than the last two generations. How Spanish this region is.
Can I give you a really cool bit of environmental world building that I think is fantastic, and I think I got this right, but this came out actually at the end of my latest video. I just did a theory about the legendary quartet, right? In the kind of top eastern corner of, obviously the environment changes quite dramatically, and it's kind of got this very Chinese influence that matches the legendary quartet.
Yeah.
You know how all the mountains are topped with a sort of like obsidian like rock and glass?
Spikes.
Do you know why that is?
Volcano.
But there's no volcano up there, right?
Internal volcano.
Firefish. It's the fire legendary that burns so hot that it creates magma, and it's right in the heart of that area. It's in the waterfall. That it can turn rock into lava. And so I think it's to do with that. I think given that area of the region most closely ties into the inspirations for that quartet of Pokemon, and that you can find that specific Pokemon inside a cluster of these kind of mountainous peaks, and that they've all got this, like, as I was looking at it first, I was like, what's this got to do with Necrozma? Like, I'm trying to put that together, and then I'm like, oh no, it's hot. It's just like it's volcanic rock because of the heat that was there at some time. And so that gives you some story, which I think I really loved that. I thought that was like 10 out of 10. The idea that a single Pokemon has had that level of impact on the environment, or that there might be a story there, and even if that's wrong, right, it just turns out later on that actually, in the same way that there are big sort of terrestrial crystals down in the crater, as a result, there are some kind of opposite crystals that we've got the raids at the moment with the Charizard with the shadowy black crystals. Maybe it's actually that, and that there's a theory there to do with I love stuff like that. It just leaves room for interpretation, and there's a number of answers that it could be. I think that stuff's great, and I think the game handles that relatively well through a number of areas, but I also think there are some areas that are I guess a bit desolate. Supposedly, I guess by choice, obviously the desert is deserted, and obviously the construction area is under construction.
I like that place. I like
like
that
that area?
desert under construction with the tunnels and holes. and all
The
that.
tunnels are a lot of fun. I'll agree with that. I think
I think just the layout in general for all the wild. I don't know what to call them. They're not routes, but the wild areas. Let's say.
Yeah.
I like the layout of every single one. It was very unexpected. It was very well laid out. Like you may disagree on, I assume, like just the sparseness of it, but in terms of the actual layout of the terrain, I like a lot in every single location.
Yeah, it's fair.
It's the best in all of Pokemon, in my opinion, but I don't know. That's a bold claim. In terms of, like, for example, I was surprised by the amount of caves there were. I thought there weren't going to be any caves. Like, the last few generations, we barely had any caves, or the caves were very underdeveloped and just a path. There were 2 huge caves. There were multiple little caves and tunnels, but there were 2 huge caves that were bigger than the last few generations.
It was really bizarre, actually. I managed my whole run through without going into the big cave that's kind of under the icy mountain. And so when I found that in the post game, I was just having so much fun kind of exploring that. I wish there was more. I just wanted more, but
more what? That's the biggest region.
More of that cave, like more networks of tunnels leading to sort of cool rooms or interesting things. But like it was still cool. Like, don't get me wrong, I just wanted more. Yeah.
I always want more. I'm actually like looking at my list, for example, like in terms of, I think we talked, I think we agree in terms of like there's no, the towns aren't whimsical, but again, it's realistic, I guess. Like when I said this, it's subtly Spanish. Mm-hmm. It is like subtly Spanish. Like it's like every town has a Spanish feel. It's just not in your face. Because it's not like a stereotype like in Generation 8 and 7 where it's like, this town is this kind of British thing, or this town is this kind of Hawaiian thing. In this town, I guess only Mesagoza really was. This is explicitly Spanish. It's all about where you like getting your lore, and apparently you like getting your lore from NPCs. Yeah.
From all places. Like I like. Yeah. I don't know what lore. What am I trying to say? I feel like there was environmental storytelling, which was really, really interesting. But like also I think I want more fanciful towns and cities and stuff. It's the Pokemon world.
Yeah, I agree.
But
it still felt like subtle, like Generation 1 to 4. I think this region felt way more like Generation 1 to 4 in terms of how subtle the regions were. It just felt like a classic Pokemon region where it's like, this is not New York, this is not France.
I get that, but I think even in Gen 1 to 4 there were towns that really felt like they had their own really strong identities. I mean, obviously, like I almost
not in Generation 1 to 4. Other than the Generation 3 ones. Other than Generation 3 and
I'm like looking at you like, are you kidding? Gen 3 is like...
Because Gen 3, that's the whole point. Gen 3 is that the nature coincides with the towns. That's the whole theme.
Sure.
So I get it.
Gen 3 is like, very much that. But like, yeah, I really enjoy that. And actually, when it comes to Gen, no, like, I don't think there was... definitely Gen 1. Like, I see the likeness there, but I think with a lot of the towns and gens...
It's close to Gen 4, in my opinion.
Okay.
In terms of...
Sure.
That's how I would see it.
Yeah.
It's not to the degree of Generation 1. It's not as awesome as Generation 3.
No, I could see that.
Not as historical as Generation 2.
I do see that. I definitely like those, Yeah, because all of the towns I was about to list off are all Gen 3. And you're right, that is the theme
Gen
of the
3's,
region.
Imagine getting an open world Hoenn. That would be the best thing ever.
That'd be so cool.
Oh my god!
Walking through Fort Tree, flying over Fort Tree City, or like...
Oh wow, it really would be the best one. God damn.
Or like just
although
entering...
Unova would be really nice.
Entering Route 113. Oh, how cool would that be?
Unova is actually a really good balance, I think, in terms of like the towns are towns, but half of them still have like really good history and like lore, and a gimmick, let's say, that isn't like we are on a tree or we're in a crater, but more like a natural one, like we're a city with walls or we're a city with bridges, I get it. That we can agree on. They could have been more whimsical, but it wasn't a huge... I think the lack of whimsical landmarks was a problem.
Yes.
Like there weren't... Like again, there wasn't a mushroom forest. There was no waterfall cave. I mean,
Yeah, there's the bamboo shoot route, and then there's that sort of it. I also felt with all the like the castles and the various like watchtowers. I almost wish they were of different like materials and different stones and different like you know. I felt the fact that they were all the same was fine, but made them less interesting because once you'd seen one, you'd sort of seen them all. And but I don't just want to dunk on the game. Is there anything we wanted to talk about before we wrap up that we were sort of going to miss today before we get into big like story stuff?
Well, question. I mean, we are, but for that, you liked the characters in the story? Just so we know that next episode will be more positive?
Yeah,
okay,
I do like the characters in the story.
That'll be next episode.
Very much.
This is definitely... I don't know, actually, this probably wasn't more positive than last episode.
I guess it was
more neutral. It was more neutral.
Yeah.
It was a neutral episode because you had some things, I guess, positive to say about the world. But you really... the point was that I guess your experience of the game... I feel like you really... If the performance and visuals were better...
I agree.
You would have a completely different opinion of the town.
I was thinking about, like, the last thing you want to do is enter an area that's quite sparse that has the theme of being under construction when you feel like the game you're playing is under construction. It takes away the enjoyment of that area a little bit. You know
which is crazy because, like, for example, that was one of my favorite areas to explore. I think gameplay-wise, exploring, that was amazing. It had... for example, a lot of the desert... Like, other than the desert...
Yeah, it's a desert, which is fine.
It's a desert. Yeah, it's fine. But there was, like, for example, like a more like dry area east of Mesagoza, like when you're going to Artisan.
Yeah, that's quite nice. I like the environment there. Yeah.
Like there's a lot of twists and turns and cliffs and valleys and mazes. It was really like that. Again, that's the kind of routes I love, and it's finally back to that. But even in an open world setting, which is even harder to do. I thought it was just gonna be flat plains. I thought it was just gonna be flat plains and mountains, like it was in the previous in Arceus, for example. But no, it really is like the routes feel like classic routes where there's a lot of mazes and like cliffs and like.
There's this really cool area that's off the beaten path of like and actually I really like the whole top west corner of the map where the lake is. The feeling of the Dragon Lake and how they capture, and actually even the area above that with the beautiful
my favorite part.
Autumnal kind of it's gorgeous.
The autumn place.
But below that, between that and the desert sandwiched, there's like an abandoned like collapsed Colosseum made of stone. Have you been up there?
Well, the stone, I didn't see it as a Colosseum. I saw it it's like a stone semi-cave thing.
I think it's organized in quite a intentional way. It looks to me, at least, to be like an abandoned like amphitheater or Colosseum or something. Possibly. But like
it looks really cool.
There's a lot of very cool environments up there. I'll totally concede they are gorgeous and yeah.
Again, this is the biggest region, so I don't understand how this didn't like pile up in terms of like. Because there's so many cool little spots to see. More than the previous games.
The performance issues damage a lot. You know, it really, like for me, like it's like, oh man, I would love to be able to appreciate this more, but right now I can't. But there's patchworks, right, happening. I think there's a patch that happened recently or is happening soon. I don't know how much this is gonna fix for a future playthrough, but like I definitely would like to wait until we're like a good sort of 10 patches down before I play it again, because I want to like go in and like be fresh and oh man, this is really cool. How did I not enjoy this as much last time? You know what I mean? That's what I'd love for the future. I guess
you'll replay it, once or twice in the next 5 years or whatever.
Yeah.
But like it kind of feels like Generation 7 and 5 where people, which was again were two of my favorite generations, where there was a huge thing that prevented people from liking a thing, and then because of that they had a negative opinion of every other thing that was positive. For example, Generation 7, people hated the hand-holding, so now they just hate everything. Like they hate the progression of everything. They hate they don't really care about the characters or the locations because of that.
Necessarily an extreme stance, but I guess it's a case of like I understand it because it's like it's not like man, this Pokemon game was 99% perfect, but the grass is just the wrong shade of green, so therefore I hate everything else. It's that's
not what I just said.
No, I know. I just want to be clear. Like, it's definitely like I think the problems are big problems. Like, and that they.
But you thought the handholding was a big problem too. That literally prevented you from playing this game.
Yeah, and it is a shame. It's gutting. It's gutting.
But again, I hate when that affects your perception of things that have nothing to do with those things.
I don't think it affects my.
That's what I hate.
It's not so much that it's an odd one. It affects my perception in it literally like I do not get to see the thing until I have got through the cutscenes, right? But it doesn't. I don't know that it. I still think I'm able to judge those things individually. Like, Golisopod, for example, is and always will be one of my favorite Pokemon ever. I think it's super cool. I think the way that you get it in the region is super cool. The fact that, but it is frustrating to me that I don't really get to play through the Alola games to get to that point because dialogue. You know what I mean? Yeah, and I guess it's harder when the things are closer related. So, like, the excessive amount of dialogue is going to affect my enjoyment of the plot and story of Sun and Moon more than it is the design of Golisopod. In the same way...
No, but for example, a lot of people that I saw, everything's a blur to them because they're not paying attention to the plot, so they're not paying attention to the battles, and then when a Pokemon appears, let's say Guzma, they already don't care about the plot, so they're like, when Guzma sends out his Golisopod, they don't care about the Golisopod.
That's what you mean,
they're just going through it, they're not caring. That's what I've seen. Not you.
No, that makes sense.
But I've seen that.
Whereas obviously, like, with this region, like, the fact that the kind of performance issues don't change the fact that I think that the final boss has some banging music, or that I think, or that I don't enjoy the story that I do. It's
because I think that's because specifically for like the final boss, because I think that's a whole stretch of good part of the game.
Yeah,
like that whole section of the game is good, so like you're already out of thinking it's negative. But if it was just, let's say you had that same exact final boss, and like the last 30 minutes you also had bad it was, let's say it was out of the blue, all of a sudden you have this awesome final boss, but the stuff that preceded it wasn't awesome, then yes, maybe you wouldn't have thought that final boss was awesome. And even though the music and let's say the character and its like lore was in your opinion really good, maybe even objectively, but it would have been affected by all the other negative things. So same thing with like Alola, where people hate the handholding, and right after handholding there's something awesome, but because handholding just happened, they're already complaining, and in their mind they're already negative. They're not caring about this awesome thing that happened. While in this game, all the awesome things happened while like in general awesome parts of the game. You know what I'm saying?
I get what you're saying. Yeah, I mean, I agree. It's just a shame.
Like even Area Zero is one of the best. If we're talking about let's end in Area Zero in terms of the region. Area Zero is what I thought we should have had more of, where like these whimsical locations.
Yeah. I agree. Area Zero is stunning and like genuinely very fantastic and cool, and it feels like they managed to capture that feeling of like the land that time forgot so well. Descending and seeing Tropius and like prehistoric things happen, like so fascinating.
I was completely surprised. I thought that Area Zero, because we had, again, this is the biggest region ever. I didn't expect an entire huge region, entire huge area. I thought it was just going to be like on hallways, like in Ultra Sun and Moon, where I thought it was going to be like very pitch dark, like cave, like that you, again, like just maybe a few rooms, but just, I thought it was going to be basically a fifth of the size, not even. And it was literally the size of an entire area or entire like section of the game. Like it's another fifth of the game. Not entire fifth. It's another seventh of the game in terms of area, which is crazy to me. And along with the cool characters that you were with at the time, the cool Pokemon that you're seeing, the amazing music. So again, it all leads up to the awesome parts. So you have this nice stretch of, let's say, a half an hour to an hour of awesome stuff. So it was a good buffer between the bad performance that you had before to the cool things that you actually did enjoy. But for me, I was already enjoying. So this is like, whoa, they even have this now? This is one of my favorite games ever.
That's great. I think Pokemon put out a statement or something with the patch notes, something to the effect of, we're aware that like some people missed out on the champion music.
Oh, you didn't?
Huh?
The music didn't glitch for you?
No, I think I had that fine. But some people had issues with the champion music or the Elite Four music.
Maybe you didn't notice it, honestly. That would be hilarious.
Possible that
the
I
Elite
just didn't
Four music,
notice.
you just didn't care about that game so much, you just didn't notice the music was glitching.
I was, to be fair, I hit the Elite Four at 2 a.m. at one point, and then I fell asleep. Like I had to break like right before the final trainer in the Elite Four and come back in the morning. And so yeah, I don't know. Maybe I didn't notice. Who knows? It's genuinely possible.
Yeah, like it. Yeah, it is possible, honestly, because so it did glitch for me. It glitched for like I'd say 90% of the playthroughs that I saw.
Right.
Where it just loops the beginning. Some people don't notice until their chat tells them, because in all these streams.
Yeah.
Because again, there's so many people that aren't paying attention to music. It's so annoying. Even though this is one of the best in terms of battle music, one of the best soundtracks. The battle themes in this game are.
Although
I can't get them out of my head.
I think we got to wrap soon, but I do quickly want to bring up. I did think the gym music was weird in this because
this is my least favorite gym music.
It's got the sword and shield cheering, but there's no arena. There's no cheering. Who's cheering? You know.
I mean, wait. Most of them, I say 90% of them have a lot of people around.
They're
them,
like
stadium level, but like at least 10.
But that's the point. Like I think the point of Sword and Shield's gym is that like you've got this choir of football chanting, and it feels like part of the gym. Whereas this, they just sort of took the same thing, like there's just not that many people there that would be doing that. It's kind of, I don't know. It just.
For me, it's less about there weren't enough people there. It's more just it's just not part of the theme. Like the theme of the previous game was these huge events.
Yeah.
And I liked it. I think the gym challenge was better in the previous game, because that was the plot. The plot of the previous game was the gym challenge. While this game it wasn't. So like it's back to just individual gym leaders that have nothing to do with each other. I think it's just an average gym challenge. In terms of it's just back to classic gym challenges. So the music shouldn't have represented the previous game's theme.
Yeah, it was quite
more like. Although I mean, again, it wasn't like.
I think I've
jazzy.
unintentionally been more negative than I intended to be this podcast. I'm really sorry. I wanted to be bright and quippy and with it and fun, and I just feel like I've been a little bit negative.
I mean, it's just your opinion.
I'm sorry for ruining your day, Ron.
I mean, in general, it's less your opinion that a negative opinion that like makes me feel negative. It's more when there's this dissonance of like we literally cannot fathom each other's opinion because our experience was completely different.
Yeah,
that's what I don't get.
That's
shame. What's annoying.
It's super shame. It's it's just super shame. But you never know. I mean, I remember when we started doing Pokemon YouTube stuff, and you were you always have been a big Black and White and Black and White 2 fan, and I was like, I don't really like those games that much. And since then, having replayed Black and White 2, actually, especially, being like, these are some of the best Pokemon games. What the heck? So there's every chance that what's going to happen is that, like, I'm going to wait, there's going to be some patch notes, maybe in a year, maybe in 2, I'm going to play those games again. And when I do, there's every hope that I have that same experience and I come back to you and I'm like, Ron, I get it now. I get it.
It's exactly what...
Fingers crossed.
It's exactly what I feel whenever I play even like in any Pokemon game where it's like I can't wait to replay this even if I'm already enjoying it or even if I hate it. Where it's like for example like BDSP, finished playing it, one of my least favorite Pokemon games, but I can't wait to replay it eventually because I guess when it's the first playthrough and you have all these expectations that weren't met, it's like you're gonna not like it. But it's still a Pokemon game, and I love the formula so much that it's like when I replay through my, Sinnoh, it's gonna be fun. When I replay, even if you didn't like, let's say Paldea, now that you're over the disappointment, it's just gonna be fun playing through Paldea again.
Yeah, probably there'll be because there's less pressure for it to be anything else. Yeah,
it's just just playing through it. Like even as much as I love, let's say Unova, like it's not gonna beat the first time I ever played it, at least because I liked it so much. So it's like. While it's the opposite for you, you didn't like it as much the first time you played it, so when you played it, it was even better. Same thing, although honestly, Alola was really good the third time I played. I played it, each time I played it, I loved it. Like, I really liked Alola, honestly. Like, in terms of gameplay, because the battles were so good for me, because again, I'm not using the EXP share, I'm on set mode, I'm using, normal teams, and I'm not over-leveling, and I just really I think the actual gameplay of the bosses in that game were some of my favorite. But,
the totems are something else. They're fantastic.
Let me look through my notes just in case in terms of region and new Pokemon because we didn't talk about Paradox forms. We were going to talk about Paradox forms.
We can talk because that feels like spoilery. I mean, not spoilery.
Oh yeah, that's going to be next.
But we can talk about that in the next.
We're going to talk about plot next. We're 100%. We have to. Everybody, remind me to talk about Paradox forms. Keep on saying Paradox forms.
I'll remind you about Paradox. The thing is, as well, is like we need a good Paradox form for the thumbnail. So whereas this one, we've got Wattrel.
You can put Kilowattrel if you want.
We can do Kilowattrel.
What I was going to say is, so next episode we're going to do characters and plot. If we have time, music. But don't worry, we are going to eventually talk about music it's gonna be hard to talk about music without playing the music, but I will play in the background because of the stream. I don't know if it'll be in the actual podcast though. If I'm editing it, then yeah, I'll insert it. Because I think I'm editing the episodes where we'll talk about music. I don't want to make Toby edit music because he hates music.
It's true.
Yeah, doesn't like fun.
I hate everything. that's cynical.
I mean, what was your opinion of the music in this game?
It's great.
Were you just
it's good. It's good. Yeah, I literally sent you music that I enjoyed the other day. I mean, it was a remix. But
that's true.
Yeah, no, I mean, I enjoyed the obvious stuff that your obvious fan would enjoy. Some of it I liked, some of it I didn't really. Or not didn't, but it just didn't like do anything for me. Again, very like, yeah.
But it's always funny when like the ones that don't do it for you are like ones that are like
you're like,
love.
What? How does that work?
Like,
what?
How does that? That is the definition of how does this work? That's why I'm so interested in the idea, like the study of like what's it called? Preferences. And just, like things that people enjoy. Because I don't understand how this works. I do. Like for example, music is literally just nostalgia. It's like if you listen to this as a kid, you probably will like it as an adult. Let's say your parents played some kind of music. Like if your parents loved 70s music, you'll probably like 70s music. If you like if they like 80s music, for example, I like 80s music because my parents always played 80s music. So now I'm a big fan of this like 80s renaissance, even all of the 70s renaissance too in like pop music nowadays with all the disco and then also like the 80s sounding stuff too. But other people they're like I don't care for this, and I'm like I don't understand. This is way better than what it was in 2015, where it was just like trap music and like. But other people they don't, maybe trap music or hip hop in general is what they listened to as a kid, and so they loved it when there was a huge, emphasis of hip hop in pop culture, which I mean it still is, but you know what I mean.
Ron,
the resurgence.
We're going to talk about the music next time. You're starting the next podcast now.
Sorry,
stop it.
Once I start,
I'm hungry, and I have to go. And you have to film. You've got a video to do.
Oh yeah, that's true. Wow, schnitzel. I mean, yeah, this is it. We're done. Thank you guys for coming to the stream. Thank you for listening if you are listening to the VOD version. And if you want to come to the stream, in the future, just come. This is 3 p.m. Eastern times on Fridays is when we stream this. Join us. It's fun. Because it's also cool seeing your insight to what we're saying live. And again, you had your doubts, but this is, I don't know if you were looking at the chat.
I was looking at chat. I got chat open. And it is helpful to have, because like I'm whinging and it's good to get a feel of if you want me to whinge or not.
Yeah, because like you probably were nervous when you were saying your negative things, but then like maybe a lot of people in the chat were agreeing with you and you're probably like, oh, okay, no, I'm not saying anything controversial.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I guess we're done.
Wow, that was a really long pause.